Welcome to my channel. In today's tutorial we will learn how to make a cinched one-piece jumpsuit. I came across this jumpsuit and I fell in love with it, and I said, okay, let's do something. Let me make a tutorial on how to sew it. As usual, I'll be using a pattern paper, to illustrate what to do so that you can understand it better. When you have your fabric, you can work directly on the fabric. So when you have your fabric or your pattern paper, the first thing is to mark out a part for your crochet extension. And this part you're marking out is not only for crochet extension, the center joining, because the jumpsuit has center joining in front and at the back. You pick the parts there at that crochet extension, center joining for the front, and your zipper allowance for the back. So this crochet extension, depending on the measurement you are using, by 3 inches or 3.5 inches should be fine for the crochet extension. So at the upper part where your shoulder is, you mark your neck width. Usually 3 inches should be fine. Then you now mark your sleeve, your shoulder, then you mark your sleeve extension. So that means the folding of the fabric should be able to accommodate your shoulder plus your sleeve, because the dress is a cut together sleeve. So at the tip, at the point of your sleeve, you come down by 1.5 inches for your shoulder slant. That is what I just did. So you just mark your neck width, whatever you want your neck width to be, and the back, you can make the back 1 inch neck depth. You can use 3 inches neck width or more if you want it more open. Then for your front, it's a V, so you come down by whatever measurements you want. 7 or 7.5, it's what I will use eventually. So now I'm marking my shoulder to waist. I'll draw a line at that point. That is my waistline. Then from the waistline, I'll mark my hip line. So after marking the hip line, I will mark also my rise length. That is where the crotch will be. I realized at this point that this paper won't be enough, so I will add more paper to extend the pattern. Now, because this is a jumpsuit and you need it to be free at the crotch, so I will advise that you add more to your crotch, to your rise. That is, if normally your hip to your crotch is like, or your waist to your crotch length to your crotch is like let me say 11, I will advise you make it like 14 or even 15, so that it will be very free. And if you don't have your rise length, the way to do it is you divide your hip by 4. Let's say your hip is 40, you divide it by 4, that is 10. That is, now you will now measure from your waist to where the 10 is. That is where your crotch is supposed to sit. But because it is a jumpsuit now, instead of using that 10, you can add 3 inches to it, or even 4. So you now mark 13 or 14. That is where your crotch will be. The next thing I'll do is to go to my waistline and mark my waist circumference divided by 4. And I will add allowance. This allowance is what I will use to pleat it. On the main fabric, I'll be marking 8 inches. That is, after I mark my waist divided by 4, I will add 8 inches extra. Also, the same thing on the hip line. I will mark my hip divided by 4, and I will add 8 inches also as the extra. So I will mark 8 inches also. So on the waistline, waist divided by 4 plus 8 inches, you can add up to 9 inches. It doesn't matter, it depends on how full you want it to be. And you can reduce it, you can add 6 inches or even 5 if you don't have much material. Now on the crotch line, I will exactly what I have on the hip line, I'll bring it down to that crotch line and I will join it. The measurement on the hip line is the same at the crotch line. Now from the shoulder, from the sleeve, now I will mark the sleeve opening, how big I want it to be. On the fabric I use 10 inches. So and from there I will go to I will connect it to my waistline. Now let's deal with the crotch extension. Now your crotch extension, actually if you are working on a normal trouser, is if you divide your hip by 16. Now here you divide your hip by 16 inches, then you can now add 1.5 inches to it. That is your hip divided by 16 plus 1.5 inches, and it will be the same for the front and the back. But if you don't want it to be that big, you can use 1, but I feel 1.5 inches should be fine, or even 2 inches, either 1.5 inches or 2 inches, because you need it to be very free at that point. So that is all about the crotch extension. I will mark the crotch extension, I will mark the measurements on that crotch line plus the extension, and I will mark it at the hem line. That is the hem line of this jumpsuit. I'll bring it down. Then if you want the lower parts of the jumpsuit, of the palazzo, to be big, then from that crotch extension you can come straight down to your hemline. But because I don't want it to be too big, that is why I use this slant line. So I reduced it at the hemline. Then at the other side too, you can do it straight, or you can even make it bigger. But basically this is what I want. I don't want a very big trouser, so I just followed it like that. So this is what we have. Now at that crotch extension allowance, for the back you need to add your zipper allowance. This line I'm drawing, maybe 1 inch, depends on what you usually use for your zipper allowance. For the front you need like half an inch for the front joining. So you just draw the line, half an inch for the front, then for the back maybe 1 inch because of your zipper, or if you usually use more than 1 inch, you can add to it. So this line I'm drawing now is I'm just trying to trace it so that I can blend with the crotch extension. So basically this is what we have. The next thing I'll do is to mark the points on the waist that you will pleat, because we need to hold, or we need to do the tuck, that is the pleat that will make it tight. So from your waistline you go up 2 inches, then you come down again also 2 inches, and now you will now draw the line that you want to pleat. It depends on what you want. You can make it 4, you can make 4 pleats, 5 pleats, 3 pleats. The one I made 4 pleats, but I think I'll prefer 3 pleats. I wouldn't want the pleats to be too many. So if I'm sewing this tie again, I'll be using 3 pleats. But the fabric I used 4 pleats, which to me it was looking too much, but it depends on what you want. So your sewing allowance, I forgot to say that after my waist divided by 4, I added 8 inches and I added 1 inch seam allowance by the side. So now this lower part, if you want your palazzo to be slim, then you make it slim. If you want it wide, then you increase it at the hem line. So that is what we have. Let's now go to the fabric while I try to explain on the fabric. Okay, this is my fabric. I already cut it out and I already make some markings. That is my crotch extension. That is my shoulder line. The shoulder slant to where the sleeve is. The sleeve opening, I use 10 inches for my sleeve opening at that point. Then this is my waistline. This is my waistline. I already input my measurements I added 8 inches and 1 inch seam allowance. Then on the hip line, same thing, my hip divided by 4 plus 8 inches plus 1 inch seam allowance, same as my crotch. And 1 inch seam allowance. Then this is my crotch line. This is my crotch line, and I mark out the crotch extension at that point. The crotch extension. Then from there I did a slant line to my hem line. If you want it wide, then you can take your crotch extension straight down without tinting it. And at this other side too, I came and I tint a little. If you want it wide, you can go straight. And that is my hemline. So the next thing is will be to cut it out. Now at that hemline, if your length is 58, then you do 60 and you fold your allowance in the way I just did before you start cutting. Then you cut following the line. At the center for the front, I added ½ inch, which will be my joining allowance, and for the back I left 1 inch. That 1 inch is for my zip allowance. That's the allowance until I get to the crotch. It's entered there before I got to the crotch. So that is what I have. So the next thing is to mark my neckline. The front neckline will be V shape. So the depth is 7.5 inches, and the width I'll maintain 3 inches, and the back will be 1 inch depth by the same 3 inches. So I'll connect it and I'll cut it out. After working on the neckline, I'll go to my waist line. So I'll come up by here. I came up by 2.5 inches, which eventually I realized it was too much, so it's just okay. Go up by 2 inches, go down by 2 inches. I came down here too by 3 inches. At the end I realized it was too much, so just from your waistline, go up 2 inches, go down 2 inches, 2 inches upward, 2 inches downward. Here we need to mark the pleats. Now don't forget that when after my waist divided by 4, I added 8 inches allowance. So it is that 8 inches I need to take out. That is what I want to pleat. And because I will be using 4 pleats, so meaning I will have, for each pleat I will have to sew to 2 inches. So what I did here is it depends on the distance you want to use. For me, I used 1.25. So from my center I marked 1.25. then that will be, there won't be pleats. Then after that I marked 2 inches. That 2 inches is what I will pleat. Then after the 2 inches I will mark 1.25 again, that I will not pleat. then I will mark another 2 inches. So that's how I'm going to do it until I'm able to mark 4. So this is it, 1.25 without pleat. I won't pleat that area. I marked 2 that I will pleat. 1.25 I will not pleat. 2 inches I will pleat. 1.25 I will not pleat. 2 inches I will pleat. 1.25 I will not pleat. 2 inches I will pleat. So at the end I will have 4 pleats or 4 tucks. So just trying to show you. I'll take it to my sewing machine. Make sure the 2 points meet like this, and I'll sew it. I'll sew it like that. Leave the next point, go to the next 2 inches, pick it up, and I will sew. So at the end I will have 4 tucks. That is 4 sewing or 4 pleats, depending on what you how you call it. So this is what I have. I have joined the center. This is the center back after I did facing, and I joined it, and you see, this is what I have. This is what I have. That is the center to the crotch. That's the crotch points that I joined, and that's the palazzo at the back, under the lower part of this particular style. So, and this is the front. This is the front with the facing, and I join the center, and here is the pleats or the tucks, and that is the fitted part of the dress or of the jumpsuit. So the next thing now is to join the shoulder, and join the sides, join the inseam and the out seam, and basically that's what we have. You turn the sleeve, and you turn the hemline, and the dress is ready, or the jumpsuit is ready. Yeah, this is it eventually. Or if I'm making this another time, I would rather use 3 pleats instead of 4. The pleats looks too many, but it's actually beautiful. So I added my zipper at the back. My zipper was placed at the back, and it's actually very beautiful. I think it's a style you will need to try. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have learned something. See you in my next video. If you have not subscribed, please do like, drop your comments, and share. Thank you. See you in my next video.